This is Living Your Authentic Life. I'm Aiden.
And I'm Emma.
And today we are actually going to get around to talking about tips and tricks to help with your mental health.
Yeah, a bit more solidly. I think we've gone off on quite a few tangents. Of course, we are new to podcasting, so thanks for being patient with us.
Yes.
Although I do hope you've gleaned some useful information from our previous episodes.
And yeah, I think also part of it is just that we are very excited to be authentic and to share our own experiences. And so that's been kind of, it's taken a lot more of the first few episodes just to get into the habit of actually talking about ourselves and about what we're going through. And kind of in the excitement of that, there's definitely a bit of an urge to really like
do the background stories,
to do all of that and just be as open as possible.
We're both chatters. We're chatters, so I hope you guys don't mind listening to us have a chat. But it is all, of course, to set up that the background knowledge and understanding. There's going to be more of it for sure. But this episode we are staying on track and we are focusing on giving you guys some tools that you can utilize, things that have worked for us, things that maybe haven't worked for us but may work for you, so still worth mentioning. Would you like to start us off, Aiden?
I would love to start us off. So in episode 1, we talked about being quite tired and being low energy and finding the things that that are taking care of ourselves and helping us recover from burnout without really starting from a place of having energy. And one of the things that I go to immediately if I'm really low energy, even though I'll be totally honest, sometimes when I'm that low energy, it takes me quite a while to actually get myself to do it. But taking a really hot shower is like the best thing for me. It's like a complete body restart. I will fight myself to actually get around to it and to like take my time with it. It'll be one of those situations where I'm like, I don't have the time, I'm too stressed out, I'm too tired, like I will just like, I don't know, flash through it. My best friend and I call it Kitty Priding a shower.
What?
It's from X-Men. So Kitty Pryde, she like phases through like the walls and things like that as a character, and she'll like phase through a shower and just like basically like get wet and like go through like the really quick like rinse, scrub, rinse, jump out sort of thing. So I'll like do that almost all the time.
Oh, so it's a quick one? It's not
No, that's what I'll usually do, but the showers that I actually get like some sort of recovery from is the ones where I actually I force myself to slow down and to actually like experience the shower and to like feel the hot water and not just like...
That's super interesting, because when you first said that, I thought I've never heard of this before. If anything, the whole cold shower, you know,
like the wake up your body and like shock your system.
Everyone is talking about, you know, cold therapy and having a cold shower in the morning, and unless it's like the middle of summer and that feels really nice to do, have a cold shower, I don't want to do it. I really don't. But what I have just realized from what you've said is that there are times where I've had maybe a really long day or things are starting to feel a bit on top of me or whatever. And I'm the same, like I generally take pretty quick showers.
Yeah.
Showering for me most of the time is just getting clean and getting it out. It's not something that I take the time to enjoy. But on those days, I will actually take a longer shower and just kind of stand there. And I learned that from my partner, because I used to watch him in the shower and I'd be like, what are you doing? He'd just be stood there with his arms folded and his head down for like minutes on end. And he's like, I'm just thinking.
It's so good. I used to take, so I was one of those teenagers that would take like an hour-long shower and waste all of our hot water and throw up the water bill. And like obviously now we're paying for water and paying for electricity, and I understand the cost of that sort of thing. And so I'm like hyper showers. I'll take them super quick, be in and out in like 5 minutes. Also, I rush for everything. I wait until the last possible minute to do something because I'm usually stressed out and like the freeze react to like not actually like do anything, and to just kind of be like, I guess, frozen in the thought process of all of the stuff that you have to get done, and won't actually start any of the stuff that you have to get done.
Yeah.
So we'll do that with like getting ready and stuff like that as well, a lot of the time. So to force myself to like slow down and to take a long shower and to have that opportunity to just let my body physically relax rather, and to utilize the hot water as well, right? Because like heat therapy for muscle relaxation is very common.
Absolutely. As you know, both Aiden and I are qualified massage therapists, so anyone who has ever had a massage, you would know that warming up the body and getting the blood flow to the muscles is a good thing to help them release and relax. So that's why it's always made sense to me, and I've always enjoyed hot more than cold.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense that outside of the feeling for me of it's kind of like washing off the day, if I've had a really long day, like washing off the day and just getting this like internal warmth building inside me, it feels really nice. But then on a physiological level, you are increasing your internal temperature a little bit, not a whole lot. Yeah. You're getting more blood flow around your body, and if you've been sat at a desk all day and you've been in the same 1, 2, 3 postures, you might have a sit to stand desk, that's great. But if you're spending an hour standing and an hour sitting, and you're still in one particular posture for an extended period of time, and have maybe not had a whole lot of movement throughout your day, which means you will have less blood flow to the entire body, because our muscles want blood flow when they're moving. If you're not moving, they're not going to be demanding that as much. So having that hot shower to get that blood flowing, that's nice. I like that.
I highly recommend it. I think it's great. I want to go back to taking hour-long showers and just like working through all of life's problems.
Yeah, well, I think that's why some people like baths as well, right?
Yeah.
I always go with the intention of having a bath for that reason, but then I get bored very quickly. I have to take my laptop into the bathroom with me and watch Netflix to keep me in the bath for that 20-minute period. Yeah. Because I do get very bored just lying there.
I'm the type of person, I don't like to be cold, but I also don't like to be hot. And so sitting like submerged,
and
I get so sweaty, and I don't like to sweat. I am a fair weather child. I can survive in a temperature of like 21 to 23 degrees, and that's like the only range that I have.
Probably shouldn't have come to Sydney.
Okay. That's Celsius, just for all of the Americans that I will be pulling in.
Yes.
From family and friends. Which is like 75 degrees. That's it. I don't really have a range beyond that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good one to start us off, I think. And yeah, one thing I want to say is that when you are stuck in a rut and you've got that low on energy, I think first comes the acknowledgement that you're there.
Yeah.
So again, like we've mentioned in previous episodes, it's really being aware and conscious of what you are doing, why you are carrying out certain actions and behaviors. So for me, it's first acknowledging the fact that, maybe I first told myself when I got home from work and I was tired that I just needed a bit of time to chill out and watch TV. But maybe then, the next 24 to 48 hours, I find myself wanting to go back to that with every spare moment of my day that I have in between clients, or as soon as I get home, right up until I go to bed. And that for me is then a time for me to acknowledge, like, okay, there's something going on here. I'm using this form of escapism that I'm addicted to. Yeah. So,
and we've talked a little bit about that in past episodes as well. That,
yes.
Like, it can be very easy to just slide right into that mentality and into that space.
Yeah. Because sometimes I know I can come home and just watch TV for a couple of hours, and then I naturally start to get bored of the TV because my mind's going again, and then I'm on my laptop doing research or reading up on something, or like whatever it is, I've now started to go into productive mode, in which case I've used my escapism as a tool, not as a crutch.
Yeah.
So when I realize I'm using it as a crutch, this is going on for a bit too long, I've then got to ask myself, okay, why? You know, am I working too much? Is there something bothering me? Like maybe I'm not getting the results that I wanted with a particular client, and there's now a story going on in my head that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not putting in enough effort, whatever it is. So for me, it's very much about identifying, why do I feel so tired and like I want to escape at the moment. So once I've done that process, I'll then look at, what can I do to get myself out of this funk without necessarily just telling myself like, oh, I need to be upbeat and positive and, you know, start doing. So my first port of call is always meditation. Like it's a classic cliche one, but it's absolutely true, because whenever I really put myself into that space that is dedicated to me, and, you know, connecting with my guides, connecting with myself, and really understanding what I need right now. And I will often get answers from that. So sometimes, you know, I might think, yeah, actually, you know, I'm not getting enough sunlight. Like I need to just go outside more. And that might feel like a struggle to start off with. But
especially if you're a fair weather child like me and it's a hot day.
Yes, my fair princess.
Little princess.
Says the also very white girl. Yeah, so sometimes it might be going out into nature. Sometimes I might genuinely have to accept the fact that I need to just have a good sleep so that my brain can really reset, and not guilting myself for doing that, right? Yeah. So if I've got other things that I should be doing, but I really feel tapped out in my brain, then I just accept it, and I have a nap, or I have an early night, and I try and get that extra sleep. But yeah, meditation is key. It's helped me in so many ways. And if you haven't yet explored meditation, I have started a body scan meditation series on my YouTube channel, Body Brain Beyond. I feel like body scan is a really fantastic way as a gateway into meditation, absolutely. Because it's actually just teaching you to bring your awareness into your physical body, acknowledging what's going on there, whether that's aches, pains, you know, some areas might not feel quite right, and being able to tune into that before then kind of transcending to the next level, where we kind of go from this physical body to the mind, and then eventually the mind to the higher consciousness.
I think we learned how to meditate differently. I learned how to meditate from a Buddhist monk who came to my university when I was a religious studies major, and the whole idea of Buddhist meditation, from my understanding, I'm not Buddhist and I don't practice Buddhism, so I don't have a full grasp of it. I just have the understanding and the memory of it from 8 years ago. But from my understanding of it, it's used as a place to clear the mind and to kind of be in complete stillness within oneself, and to settle oneself. Not for reaching for more. It's really just about sinking in and finding a place of complete quiet. So kind of just, I guess, working with minimizing distractions, minimizing any sort of attachment to the body, and becoming more unattached in that sense.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. We were talking about meditation recently, and you were talking about what did you get from it? And I was like, I just went really quiet and brought myself out of everything and not kind of reaching for anything.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because there are obviously so many different styles of meditation out there. I'm actually not, I don't want to say not a fan of guided meditation, but I don't think guided meditation is necessary, right? Because when I started meditating properly, it wasn't through guided meditation apps or YouTube videos. But I do think a lot of people find those helpful to start to understand certain concepts of what you might be feeling. And in my opinion, it's how to stop using your logical brain to explain things away. So like when you do feel a sensation, or you feel there is certain thoughts in your mind, being more open to that, not necessarily coming from you, but from a connection that you've now made to your higher self, or to source energy, the creation of where we all came from. And in my opinion, if you stop at that point of, finding a place of peace and quiet, like, of course that has lots of benefits there for clearing the mind, but like, in my opinion, there's so much more to go on to. You can always expand your practice, and that's going to look different for everyone. That is absolutely going to look different for everyone. So I think it's amazing that we're in a time now where we can all talk about these things openly without being burned as witches or like chucked into a psychiatric ward. Because I'd really like to start sharing more of my experiences. I've had some like incredibly profound experiences that have largely impacted the positive direction of the journey that I'm on. And understanding that that's not necessarily how your experiences will look or feel, but I think just opening that conversation and expanding the parameters around what meditation is or can be.
And kind of just on that, to kind of expand on that, is I was really interestingly just this past week speaking about this with my Bible study group, that I utilize meditation to speak to God, to talk with God. I'm obviously Christian and practice Christianity, and so I will use meditation, even though it's maybe not traditionally a Christian practice, in order to kind of come to a place of listening for God's voice, and for prayer, and for deepening a connection with God, instead of like, there's generally this understanding that prayer has to be kind of either telling God about your sins, or talking to God about the stuff that's going on in your life and the problems that you're facing, or asking God for help with something. But there's an element that I feel is missed in a relationship where you're not kind of opening yourself up to a response. And so this is a whole series that we're working through with my Bible study small group at the moment, and kind of listening to God and pray, like listening prayer instead of kind of seeking prayer. And it dawned on me that I had already been doing that, and that I was already kind of utilizing meditation for that purpose, so that I could kind of sink in and clear my mind and clear out kind of my own interpretations and my own distractions, and listen for God to be the one working in me, and to be kind of telling me what it is that I need to be learning, kind of how you spoke, which is like, it's exactly it, right?
The same thing. This is where I think there's actually so many similarities between religion and spirituality. I think the only differences are where, in my opinion, some people or some religions then put a limitation on, and to me that limitation being that God is this separate entity from us, that we're not made of the same stuff as God, and that it's this physical being that lives on some higher plane. And most people in the spiritual community look at it as that we all came from somewhere, you know. I call it source, or like, you know, in theoretical physics, it's the singularity, like the single point of light from which the entire universe has expanded. And that I am source is me, you are me, that blade of grass is me, like we are. It's that feeling of like oneness and interconnectedness with the entire universe. So I'm not giving my power away by like asking for help and, you know, expecting some external force to have an impact on my life. It's stepping into more of what I'm truly made of, which is source energy, and tapping into the limitless power and like unconditional love of that energy. You know.
Yeah, and I think there's also this kind of expectation that, I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit, that the people who are religious or believe in a higher power that is external, there's that conception that it's just external, but there's, within Christian teaching, there's the teaching that God is within all of us, that it is a part of us, that we've got a little soul, a little piece of God in each of us, and that is what connects us to God. And obviously our relationship is what strengthens that and makes us more of that spiritual being, right? Like I believe that everybody has a soul, everybody is connected, and that soul isn't us, it is part of God. It's what kind of connects us with God. It's what gives us that opportunity to actually have relationships with a higher power, and to be connected with each other in a much deeper way as well, and to like really, even though we might not see completely eye to eye or have the exact same conception of this higher power, I think that is the thing within each of us that's connecting me and you, and connecting us, and connecting everybody just as a whole. So it is. I'm
totally with you there, and I'm excited to have more of this conversation.
We said we weren't going to get off on a tangent, and here we are.
No, so I'll you know, let's bring ourselves back to giving our tips and tricks, but just putting a pin in this, because I think we might do a few episodes around this topic, because it's such a big, meaty one, and potentially get some other people involved as well, because, you know, you're in I guess a little bit more of a space where you're open to the spiritual side of things, and you connect that beautifully with the religion that you practice. Whereas some people might be just like way on the religion side, and although a lot of things that we say might reach the same end goal, there's a lot of differences as to, you know, how each person thinks that you get there. So yeah, definitely putting a pin on that. I'm really excited to have that conversation.
This meaty stuff is what I live for. This is my bread and butter. I know. I can't wait to have these conversations with all of you guys.
Yeah, this is why we started this podcast, right? Because this is the kind of stuff that me and Aiden talk about every time we catch up. So we thought, we should share this. All right, awesome. So we've got hot showers, we've got meditation,
we've got prayer through meditation, or through any other way. Like if you do, my family obviously coming from a Catholic background before all of this, praying the rosary, praying pre-made prayer, something that kind of does get you connected with whatever religion or spirituality you have. Mantras, I guess, would fall under that in a way as well.
Yes, definitely. You know that I love positive affirmations and mantras. I am just in love with that practice, because it's so wonderfully impacted my life in a positive way, and I'm really encouraging everyone that I know to do the same, because I think language is so powerful, and there's also scientific proof for why using mantras and positive affirmations work, because on a physiological and biological level, our brains are neuroplastic. We have neuroplasticity, which means that we literally, no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in your life, everybody can do this. Our brain can create new connections simply by changing thought. And when we change that thought and make a conscious effort to do so, the old thought track that we don't really want to be going down, that's creating this cascade that leads to the negative habit that we're carrying out, that path starts to get weaker. So whether you're spiritual or not, it doesn't matter, because there's a ton of scientific proof for this. So yeah, using that positive language. So if you are sat there feeling like crap and, you know, escaping or doing whatever, and you've now decided you want to get yourself out of this funk, but you don't know where to start, have a think of a sentence, literally a sentence, you know, and you might want to do that by reviewing what's currently going on in your head, you know. So for me, I think I'm definitely guilty of you know, in so many words, calling myself lazy, or you know, I'm not being accountable, like whatever it is. And there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes along with that, hence why it's going to continue to make you feel crap. You know, you can't shame yourself into doing better. You've got to love yourself into doing better. You know, so for me, that's, I might be repeating something to myself like, I'm ready to get up and go outside. And that doesn't mean that I'm immediately going to get up and go outside, but just repeating that thought in my head starts to bring my consciousness or my awareness more towards the possibility of that. And I start to build an image in my head, you know, like if I have been avoiding walking the dogs because I'm tired and I can't be bothered, when I think about walking the dogs, I'm imagining myself not having a good time. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, it's going to be hot and sticky, and then, oh, you know, what if we see another dog and Tony barks and reacts, and I'll be thinking of all the reasons why I'm not going to have a good time. So I then have to play with my mind here, and I go, okay, think of all the times I've had a wonderful walk with the boys, and all of a sudden, you know, like the sun's coming through the trees, the boys are happily, you know, tippy-toeing along, and I'm taking in a deep breath of fresh air, and I'm going, oh my God, I'm so glad I did this. Because that honestly happens most of the time when I force myself to go to a walk. I'm like, oh my God, I should have done this hours ago. So use the mantra or the positive affirmation, but visualize it and start to like feel into it as well. Like feel that breath of air coming into your lungs, you know, feel the looseness of your body as you're walking, if you're feeling really tense at the moment. The more we start to connect to that potential, we're going to get a lot more excited about doing it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And the story that you tell yourself is kind of what becomes reality, right? So like the I'm tired today, if you're saying that, if you're repeating that, if you're thinking that, you're gonna keep feeling that.
Yes. So I was doing this the other night. I kept, and I'm now aware of these things, right? And I kept saying to myself, oh, I'm just tired, I need to sit down for a bit. And then I stopped and I thought, okay, am I happy enough to go and sit down for a bit, or do I really want to change my energy level at the moment? Right? Because sometimes you're going to think, no, like I'm feeling a bit tapped out, I need to relax. And then other times it's probably more the fact that you're avoiding doing things that you maybe don't want to do, and so your brain's like, just tell yourself you're tired and then you can go and sit down.
And also, like, just on that, like when you're in that headspace and you're just kind of like doing that and you're struggling to like disconnect it yourself and like stop that train of thought yourself, something that I always utilize to get chores done is music. Like, just put my headphones in, listen to music, choose music that's not gonna like keep me in that space, like choose like the upbeat music even if I'm tired or feeling tired, or tell myself that I'm tired. Listening to like really upbeat, loud kind of bops and getting I like to call it my goblin ragecore music, where I just like, it's the part of me that's gonna like work really hard. It's what I use when I'm feeling like the afternoon slump after lunch, where I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. I've just had a big meal. I'm tired. I can't bring myself to write another email because I will actually just fall asleep at my desk or die of boredom. And to like listen to this music that's just like, it gets my heart rate accelerated, it gets my blood pumping, it puts me in this mindset of like, I can literally just do anything. I could run a marathon right now.
Yeah.
If my legs would hold on for it.
Yeah, that's really good. It's because what you're essentially doing, you're utilizing a trigger. Because we always talk about triggers like they're a bad thing, right? Because we have now associated the word with trigger of like triggering a bad emotion, triggering, you know, an undesirable behavior or
trauma response.
Yeah, but actually it's the exact same thing happening with the quote unquote positive stuff.
Yeah.
You're triggering yourself into feeling good. Like things like music, things like, I don't know, inspirational talks, videos, putting on your favorite podcast, like us maybe.
Hey guys, we know what you're doing. You're listening to us, right?
Yeah. So like it's wonderful to recognize when something affects you on that level, and then harness it as a tool that you can use. Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Because I love music, and I definitely have my times when I like to listen to things. But probably not as much as you, and probably not as much as most people.
Yeah.
I remember friends would comment on how weird it was that like I didn't listen to music that much. When I would go to the gym, I wouldn't have any music playing. I do now, but years and years ago, I just needed a lot of quiet, which was a signal for me that, you know, I had too much going on in my brain. But I utilize that as a tool now.
Yeah.
So some mornings when I get in my car, I've got straight on podcasts, like my brain's like, yes, I'm ready for information. Like I'm hungry, give me stuff to learn. I want to utilize this 25 minutes that I'm driving to a client to get some information, right? Other times I'll get in and I'm like, sun's shining, I'm feeling like, you know, dancing and singing along, and I'll pick a genre that I'm feeling that day. And other times I just want quiet. I have driven for, you know, hours at a time before with no music and nothing, and I will often have conversations with myself out loud. I've done this since I was a kid, and I don't know how many other people do the same thing, but I literally talk out loud to myself all the time, even when I'm out in the shops and stuff. So people probably think I'm crazy, but it helps me work stuff out. It really does. Probably the same way that journaling works for a lot of people. Yeah. For some reason, I think because I've got so much in my head, I can't write fast enough, and so I resist journaling for that reason. Whenever I've tried to pick it up, I just don't keep up with it.
See, I love journaling. It's so good for me.
Well, I get the same thing from just talking. Yeah. So I think that's a good point to make, actually, is that if journaling doesn't work for you, try just talking to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll like self-monologue in my head, but I don't know. I've never really tried kind of just talking to myself. I'll talk to my dog, I'll talk to my cat, and kind of like if I'm really feeling something, I'll probably take it to them and sit and have like my pet with me. Yeah. And they're obviously super comforting, and they give a lot of great feedback on all that I'm saying. No, but like therapists. But they make me feel like there's something there to like talk to. So if you're really uncomfortable with talking just to yourself, try talking to a pet. Try journaling if it is something that you haven't tried yet. Yeah. On your point that like you feel like you can't write fast enough, I think that it is part of what helps me slow down my thoughts. Like I'll think so many thoughts and like get from point A to point Z way quicker than
if you had to physically write it.
Yeah. And I'll like skip a whole bunch of stuff. Like I used to have like conversations with people, and I'd be like 3 steps ahead in the conversation in my head, and like bring up some point, and somebody's like, where did this come from? And I have to like backtrack to be like, oh, well, you said this, and so then I thought this, and then this happened, and it reminded me of this time, and then now we're here talking about this thing, because it's just the way that my brain like quickly makes those connections. And
I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, and it's really hard to like actually slow down. So I use journaling to actually slow my thoughts down and to make those connections much more consciously, because sometimes I do it without even realizing that I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I do think it's important, because like I had a friend years ago who had that same thing. He was very intelligent, but he would stop me in the middle of my sentence and finish it for me, and he'd go, sorry, it's just I already knew where you were going, so I thought I'd just get you there faster. And I remember thinking like, you're an asshole. Like, this is my sentence that I'm saying, and I don't care if you know where I'm going with it. Like, I want to be able to verbalize myself. So there can be unhealthy elements or unhealthy expressions of that thing, because when you're thinking ahead in the conversation, you're not really being present in the conversation, right?
That's exactly it.
And I would find myself quite often zoning out and getting bored when I would talk to people for that reason, because my mind would just start hop, skip, jumping all around, and not really focusing on what was being said. And I think you do a bit of a disservice to yourself, and definitely a disservice to the people that you're with, right? And having that time and conversation with your friends who are there to experience being together with you, and you're actually not there, you're floating around.
And I think I've touched on that a bit as well when I was speaking about my social media addiction as well, is that like I think that part of the reason that my brain was all over the place is because I wasn't actively engaging in conversation with people. I was really just kind of watching those 6-second videos that kind of were giving a lot of information all at once, and then scrolling onto the next one and going on to the next one. And that's the reason that I don't have TikTok, is because I know that I'll be addicted to it, and that it'll be like so problematic for my self-care and for my mental health, because I would just like, it would shatter any ability to focus.
Yeah, I also avoided TikTok for that reason. I know that I can get stuck in doom scrolling on both Facebook and Instagram, and so when TikTok came along, I was like, I don't need another thing that's going to keep me staring at my phone for too many hours. I think I do have a TikTok profile, just when maybe someone sent me a link, so to kind of click on and view that. But I don't use TikTok. I don't plan on ever using TikTok. I don't feel like I resonate with the platform, because I don't know. Although Facebook and Instagram, of course, are just as addictive in their own ways. And I don't know if it's just because they've been around for longer, so more people use them in more positive ways. But I feel like there's a lot of space for good content on there. Yeah. There's a lot of space for stuff that's not just to keep you scrolling and that's beneficial for you. Whereas TikTok, because I mean, how long are TikToks? Like 30 seconds?
I have no idea. I know there used to be a very short limit on them, and it was recently, like when I say recently, I mean like within the last couple of years, it was expanded so that they could be a little bit longer, but I could not tell you that still quite short.
I still think that's shorter than Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels. And the problem with that is that just like you were saying before, like you are getting these, let's say 10 to 20 second videos over and over and over, and so it's that dopamine response in the brain is ticking, and in these short time periods, which means when you're not scrolling, your brain is going to be asking for that constantly, and it's going to be very hard for you to properly focus your attention on whatever it is that you're doing or who you're with, whether it's work or whether it's just a conversation with a friend. Like, your brain's going to have a hard time not getting distracted, because it's even more so than those 90-second dopamine hits, if you're getting these 10-second dopamine hit, like
yeah,
you can
definitely.
you can see how that would have a negative impact, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I also like, just to, I guess, kind of play devil's advocate for that as well. I think that there's this sense that TikTok can't be utilized as well. And I want to just really quickly address that. I'm sure that there's a lot of like good information on there that is actually like genuinely beneficial.
Yeah.
There's just this sense of TikTok being younger. I think so. I want to really quickly like just cut through it really quickly and just address that, like, we've got to be careful not to just assume that because it's the younger generation that it's not going to be beneficial. Like there's still so much that it can be utilized for, and we don't want to like cut all social media down as being toxic, but
no, because like anything, there's the polarities, right? There's like great aspects of it when we choose to utilize those, and there's terrible aspects of it when we choose to utilize those. So take everything we say with a grain of salt, you know. It's just kind of our own opinions on it.
And it does go back to the fact that like we're talking about what works for us and what doesn't work for us.
Yes, yeah. Because I mean, so many people have taken a complete step back from social media. And, you know, even my partner's recently deleted Facebook. He's kept Messenger so that, you know, he can still chat with people, but he's deleted his Facebook account because he knew he was using it to procrastinate too much. So, and I don't know, part of me would love to do that, but, you know, I'm building my business, like I'm trying to create more of a social media presence for that. And doing something like this podcasting, you know, there's levels of wanting to be in touch with what's going on out there, and wanting to have a platform to share the messages that you feel are beneficial to share with other people. So, and I just don't think you can come at it from an angle of throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, like we said, there are toxic aspects of social media, but there are lots of really wonderful aspects, like being able to share information about how to make more money, how to become more successful, how to be healthier, how to be happier, how to learn how to sew, how to bake, you know, here's this vegan recipe, you know, whatever it is. Just, we have so much access to so much wonderful information. We just have to choose to look for the wonderful information and not the
get
instant gratification.
I
mean, there are so many shitty videos now that pop up on my feed, and I'm like, why is this on my feed? Like, who is this person doing this pointless thing?
How did the algorithm pull this
for me? I absolutely have started questioning that, because I remember there being a point where, you know, everything you clicked on, I think, had come from like a really well-established account that was popular, and that was why it was showing up on your feed. And then I guess Facebook introduced some new algorithms, and I was now getting these shit posts essentially from random people. And me being like, I don't understand why this has come up. You know, what did I just spend 30 seconds watching? It's terrible.
Have you ever been like in one of those spirals where you end up watching those people like building mud houses and stuff like that? Like,
I have watched, and you look and it goes for like 14 minutes and you're like, oh, I'm already 6 minutes in. Should I keep going?
do I go and like watch the whole house? Or?
Oh, that's so funny. Do you know what I've started doing with videos like that, actually? I ask myself, like, do I really care about the process, or do I want to see the end result? And most of the time I want to see the end result, and I just skip it forward. And that's my little way of like, beat you, Facebook.
I only watched
you got me, but
12 seconds of your 4-minute shit post. But those are the things, right? The algorithm takes that as like, they engaged with this, that they like this is the thing.
I actually like to fuck with that a little bit.
Good.
It was, what was it called? The Social Experiment, that documentary that came out on Netflix a few years ago.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's The Social Experiment, and it's terrifying. It's you know, people who are, you know, ex CEOs.
Oh, I remember this one. Yeah. They used to work for like all of these media companies, and they don't let their kids use any of the products.
They talk about how deep it actually goes when these algorithms are created. All the information that they're storing on you, like how long have your eyes looked at this particular video, how long did it take you before you clicked the like button or kept scrolling, or how many times did they have to kind of put the same thing on there before you finally took the bait. But it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary, but they all said the same thing, kind of like what I was saying about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They are aware that it's being done. So they, of course, then choose to monitor themselves as to how much they use their social media. But one of the things they said that you can do to help them stop being able to control us in this way is to not click on things that have been suggested for you.
Yeah.
Which is going to be any reel that's on your Facebook timeline. But, if you go onto YouTube, for example, all of those recommended videos that are there, don't click on them. Don't click on them. Search for whatever it is that you want to search for, because when you click on those videos, it plays into that algorithm. So the more you can do that, when they try and predict your behavior, do the opposite, it makes it much harder to create that controlling hold over you. And I really think it's just a case of being conscious and understanding that is what's happening. That is what all these platforms are using to keep you scrolling.
Yeah.
So just empowering yourself with that information and making conscious choices about what you are choosing to click on or view or like, share, whatever.
Definitely.
All right. Do we have any final tips to talk about?
There's one that I just recently learned about that kind of connects to the music point for self-motivation is listening to the music that you listened to in high school.
Oh my God, I love
because it will like boost your mood because it's taking you back to like a time that was simpler. It's called neural nostalgia. And I watched a TikTok on it that was on Instagram, but it's just this idea that like you are tricking your brain into going back to a simpler time by listening to something that you engaged with when you were younger, and it can pull you out of funks. It can kind of change up a mental thought process and pull you back into kind of a bit more of a fresher perspective, like a younger perspective, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I think I've done that before, but in a different kind of way. So I've listened to the music that I used to listen to, and it then takes me back to that time, and I think about what was maybe ruling my life at that time, like any beliefs that I had, insecurities that I had, and then being able to look back on that, going like, wow, like I've come so far. I've worked through that, or maybe even identifying like, oh, I still have those that. It's less, it's reduced, but I haven't finished working through that. So it gives me that insight to be like, oh, this is something that I still need to work on. Yeah, but that's really cool. Music is amazing. There's so many benefits. So many.
The video was saying that the music that you listen to as a high schooler and like in kind of those formative years is the music that you'll have the strongest connection to for the rest of your life.
Yeah, because you're going through so much at that. So you're going through a lot of transformation from your, pre-teens to kind of leaving school and maybe going to college or starting in the workforce, whatever it was. Like that's such a pivotal period of time.
And hormones are raging and you're trying to get through everything.
I think a lot of people lose their virginities in that time, which of course is a huge life event.
It's like the first time that you get to engage with the world as well, like going out and kind of starting to break out from the family unit and like
you're becoming your adult self. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good. Okay, that's a good one. I like it.
Disclaimer, I haven't utilized it myself yet. I just realized that it was something that I resonated with. Learned about it literally yesterday, so still a bit of time to kind of give that one a try. Maybe I'll kind of give you guys an update in a few weeks' time. See how it's going. If it's actually like if I've utilized it or if I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because one thing I actually just thought about, something that didn't work for me. I mean, I guess in some ways, like I do have a bit of structure and routine in my life, but it's something that I've always really disliked. And you'll find with anyone who's talking about self-help and changing habits, it's all about consistency, which I 1000% agree with. But they also really talk about creating like a set routine and not straying from that routine. And I would get down on myself a lot about like not being able to stick to these routines in a sense of, you know, wake up in the morning, meditate, go and do some yoga, and then, you know, cook yourself a breakfast, like whatever it is. I mean, that would take a lot of time in the morning. I generally like a whole hour. Yeah, but and I might do all of those things throughout the day sporadically when it felt like when I had the time. And of course I had to make the conscious effort and make an effort to make time for those things. But for me, like creating a rigid structure over you have to do this and that's, I feel like it's much more of a male dominated way of what's the word I'm looking for, of like doing tasks, I guess. Because when you look at feminine energy and
the 28-day cycle rather than the 24-hour cycle.
Yeah, and like our sacral chakra, for example, which, you know, we're quite attuned to, with it being the feminine chakra, it governs our sexual organs, so our ovaries and uterus. And that's all about fluidity. It's all about fluidity and like water, you know, like going with the flow. And I really, really resonate with that. And I think times in my life where I've been trying to push that aside to then do what I think of as more of a male dominated way of thinking is like having this rigid structure and sticking to that.
Yeah, well, the male hormone cycle is on a 24-hour cycle, right? So like it's natural for somebody who's born in a male body to kind of engage with the world based off of the 24 hours, but people who have female sex organs, we're on a 28 average day hormone cycle. Our hormones don't restart at the end of the day, they restart at the end of the month, at the end of the ovarian cycle. So and so like to have the exact same day every single day for a female body is very hard.
I'm literally, just as we're talking about this now, I'm realizing why I had so much resistance to it. You've just helped me realize that, because I would think that there was something wrong with me, or that I am a procrastinator, or that I'm, you know, unable to create this routine, and that was a bad thing. But when I started to open up to like, okay, well, what feels right for me? Like, where can I still have that self-discipline and dedication to my practice without it having to be a rigid thing? Like going to the gym, you know, at this time every day, or like being in bed by this time, whatever it is. Like, and I think that's how I've ended up crafting a career for myself, where I have a very flexible schedule. You know, I choose when I want to work. I can put my clients in at times that of course I have to work with them a little bit. I've got to work with their schedules as well, but for the most part, like, I have a wonderful time creating a schedule that still allows me time throughout the day to take part in the things that I want to take part in, and that help refill my cup. So yeah, that's super interesting. I want to have we'll probably do an episode around this, because we've both been looking into this recently about the female archetypes and the cycles that we go through during our menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
We have, winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And when you start to learn about these things and the different aspects of ourselves that come up, as well as what's going on on a biological level in terms of hormone releases, and some stages we need more calories and we need more carbohydrates to assist in the production of the hormones.
Yeah.
And we're only just learning about this, ladies, unfortunately, because up until 2019, women were excluded from many studies when it came to health and fitness because our menstrual cycles created too many variables. So they took the results that they got for men and took a smaller percentage and applied it to women.
Yeah. I'm not even surprised. Honestly.
2019, it became mandatory for women to be part of these studies. So,
I'm not surprised.
All the things that we thought we knew about the best way to lose weight, the best way to build muscle, the best diets to have, it all came from studies that were done solely on men. Which
don't we just love that? Ladies, don't you just love being told how to take care of yourself by a man who doesn't have a female body?
Just, inspires a little bit of rage and frustration in my heart, but so grateful for the women in the field of science that are now doing actual studies for actual women. We're learning so much more about our cycles. We're learning so much more about menopause and what that means for us and how we can make menopause better for ourselves.
Yeah.
And really getting the help and care and I think recognition that we've all been seeking. Now that we are being, it's acknowledged that this is part of our lives on a biological level, and there are ways that we can very, very much work with this and come into our empowerment as women, being able to work with our cycle instead of feeling like it's something that we have to put up with for, 2/3 of our life. Yeah.
And not to be like super male exclusionary, but being two women, some of this stuff may not apply to you guys.
Yeah, but
like you should still listen.
Absolutely.
Because having this understanding of 50% of the population is worthwhile. So guys, if you are thinking, cool, those will be the episodes that I skip, please don't. Please actually take the conscious effort to engage with some of this stuff, to do some extra research, to look into the stuff that we're talking about and learn about it, because that's part of what's actually going to help the rest of us with
absolutely
kind of all of this.
absolutely.
So, like, you may think this doesn't apply. Cool, watch it anyway, listen to it anyway.
Yes,
engage with it.
Yeah, it's only going to benefit you. It is only going to benefit you and your relationships, regardless of whether you are currently in a relationship or you're single. Doesn't matter, because we're not just talking about romantic relationships.
Yeah.
We're also talking about relationships with your mothers, with your sisters, with your female friends, and
co-workers.
Yes,
all of it.
Absolutely. So we love you guys, and we love the guys that really take that time to come along and learn, because we are really just learning ourselves. So if we can all learn and make this kind of common knowledge, it's going to have a fantastic knock-on effect, and there's lots of really great information coming out for us to utilize, so let's all utilize it.
I think that's a pretty good place to leave it. We'll just end on some feminist rage and kind of let us all stew until we dive into the topic a little bit deeper.
Yes, we'll definitely come back to that in future episodes. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.